Hi everyone, this is John from AU Pack Mule, and today we're going to do Game of Thrones Season 8, and we're going to have Lauren's Corner on later. She's getting ready, taking a break in between our live streams with Geek Chat 1. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. It was a lot of fun. I want to say thank you for everyone that's been here and everyone that has come on the channel just recently with Alicia Kingston and Monero Geek TV, T-Baby, and Tony Teflon, of course, started off the 30 days of live streams like the pro he is, breaking everything down. And yeah, and also we had Fandom D Saint, and I wanted to thank David for coming on, giving an interesting breakdown yesterday. We already started, Lauren, so say hello to everybody.
I got the notification just as I was sitting with my butt down and put the coffee down on its coaster and whatnot. Hi, so I am Lauren from Lauren's Corner. Most of you just seen me come from Geekend News, which is Geek Chat 1. If you're not subscribed, go check that out. But I run a channel called Lauren's Corner. You get hitting interviews, poetry, short stories, book reviews, all that good stuff. And there's even an interview I did of asking questions with the good Sir right here, Mr. AU Pack Mule, which was fun. So go check that out as well.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, including the singing. I think it was around my birthday because I was going to sing Happy Birthday, but you wouldn't let me. So
it's the one song I hate. I absolutely cringe at it.
Oh, this is, I'm not sure what Gemma is trying to say, but I wanted to say hello to everybody in the chat before we get going too much. Obviously, we have Broken Birds, Catherine Hardig, Lady Dreamfire, Carrie Neves, The Fearless Mermaid, Bubba Husky's here, Danny McKay, and Gemma from Secrets of the Citadel. Thank you for being here. Lauren's Corner obviously is here and in charge, as always, Storm Steele. And let's see, did I miss anybody? I hope not. Dear Lord, please don't let me miss anybody.
This is Chronal is here, Terry T is here, Peter Griffin is here. Just to clarify, Peter Griffin was accidentally banned on the Geekend News stream, and that was a total accident. And I think it's Ellen or Elia says sorry for that. So you've been unbanned, so you're all good. We've got Imagination Realms here. Mr. Johnny Be Crazy Mahomey is here as well.
Also, Professor Cicely Cogsworth. Interesting name. I love that. That's
love awesome. That word. Cogsworth.
Mm-hmm.
Mackenzie L. Burns.
The Imagination Realm, too. Did I say hello to Terry T?
I think so. Maybe.
If I didn't, I'll say hello to Terry T because she always gets the purple heart, right? Love that. Johnny Be Crazy, thanks for coming, my friend. Appreciate that. Hopefully we'll be on Tuesday. Fandom D Saint is also here in the chat in person. How's that? That's pretty cool.
He was on yesterday, wasn't he?
Yes, absolutely. Lots of fun. Funko Cersei time. That was
crazy. Now you're talking dirty talk now when it comes to Fandom.
We were talking earlier about saying Stannis 3 times and having Tony appear.
Oh, no.
I'm sure he's going to be in there.
Let me do it again.
I just want to say if you say Cersei 3 times, Fandom D Saint appears. So, you want to try it?
Yeah. Hold on, I did that earlier just for the fun of it.
We'll do it.
Right, let me do it.
ASMR style.
I don't have. Oh, hold on. Stannis. Mine comes out sexy though. Like that, I can't do ASMR without it sounding sexy. Like I don't want to give him the wrong impression.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Let me try it by myself.
He's the sexiest man alive. What are you talking about?
He's got a good smile. All right, he's a cutie. Right?
Oh, come on.
Okay. Stannis.
A little over the top, but I'll take it. Oh, that's funny. Well, definitely enjoying the 30 days of live stream, and Lauren was so generous with her time. Thanks for coming on. We have so many people that are going to be here during this 30 days. So I'm glad that you were up, one of the first people that offered. So thanks for doing that. And tell me, what is it that brought you, speaking of Stannis and Tony Teflon, what is it that brought you to the Game of Thrones kingdom?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. It was that long ago. So I think I started randomly watching like the first couple of episodes of the first season when it first kicked off, and then my brother gave me a pointless voucher for HMV, which is like a music store, an old music store over here, and I don't listen to CDs or that, so there happened to be books there, and one of them was Game of Thrones. And I've said this before, I've never really been a big reader, but I started my book journey with Game of Thrones. So I read all that, and then I decided that I wanted more, and I read them in tandem with the show to the point where I was beyond the show. So I was one of those like uppity book readers that knew everything before it happened and were like really raging when Stoneheart didn't show up. But I wanted to know more about the theories because I'd seen some come up on YouTube, and I was starting to search people. So I came across people like Tony, and initially it was Preston Jacobs and Alt Chef X because they were like kind of biggest at the time. And then I came across Tony, and Tony had a completely different voice to the normal regulars that were doing. That's right, Gemma, smug book wankers. To the norm of there's a very non-plus kind of just standard English or standard American accent, but Tony just wanted to be himself and like the Dawn, the Tony Teflon, what up, what's up, my peoples. It really intrigued me and it kept me kind of going in. And then I found people like Kyle Azora Hype, who was Kyle's Fucking Chickens, which led me onto his Gemma Secrets of the Citadel. I also found Grey Area, who had a smooth, sexy voice that I just loved, and her theories as well opened up to me, and things just spiraled out of control from there. And then it came to a point where I watched so much material on YouTube. My friends were like, "You have a problem. You need to go to a meeting." Like it's a little addiction now. So yeah, that's basically just of it.
You had mentioned when Aziz was on your channel doing the asking questions, which was awesome, by the way. Love him. Great. Yeah, he's great. Everybody from Westeros history is great. So that's really cool. But you had mentioned that you had seen me on Kyle's channel when he had first started. Yes. And I was like, I didn't know anybody watched that. So that was really cool.
Oh yeah, that's how I also got to know you. And this is why every time like somebody mentions this to me, how did I get into it? Like the reason why I still have my channel and I'm running is because of you. It's because of you, as I call you, the daddy uncle of YouTube. Because if it wasn't for you, and that's my firm belief, like Kyle's channel wouldn't have gone very far. And maybe that's just my bias on my part. Because when Kyle started Kyle's Fucking Chickens, it was you and Kyle, and I thought it was a really odd combination. It was another one of those, what's going on here? What's the deal? But it really got me interested in the community, and I liked how you both worked together, and you helping and taking notice of other smaller channels, and like me saying also, I said on Aziz when I was interviewing Aziz that you were the first person in America to buy my book, and that meant the absolute world to me. And it still does, AU, like completely. Like if it wasn't for you, then I probably wouldn't have had the confidence to go on for my second book and my other books. And people picking them up, like John St. Baptiste and Chrissy of Oldstones, I'm sure she'll pop into the chat at some point. Everyone here has helped me in one way or another, and I appreciate that. I will not forget that. So thank you, AU.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, it was a pleasure. The first time I saw you, speaking of Teflon TV, was when you did the shout out to your channel, and of course, I watch everything Teflon. So when it came up in my feed, I was like, "Ooh, who's this girl?" And then I found out that you were an author, and then poetry is not my forte. I have to be honest with. Just like you were talking about being a reader, I am not a poetry aficionado. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But once I saw that you were there, I started reading a lot more poetry, especially the classics, and comparing that to your work, and it was just outstanding. So I couldn't help but buy your book, watch it, and even though you gave it away free, I was like, no, I'm going to support this girl. This is too cool.
You want to know what I actually did that Tony Teflon shout out is because he was getting really stressed out, and I'd seen he'd posted a video saying like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I'm done with this. I'm done with that. It's not going anywhere. This person's getting more views than I am, and so on and so forth. I was like, don't do that, Tony. You're a good guy. You've got good theories and stick in it. And I was like, even though I had such a tiny channel, I wanted to do something for him that helped him go on, whether it mattered or not. And I made that. I was like, listen, people, you need to go check out this channel. Tony is worth listening to. And like, I don't want to take credit for him staying around, but I mean, that video got a good 100 views or so, because I posted it directly to his Facebook page. And I mean, I hope it helped, or at least encouraged other people to encourage him to stick around. And we still have him, and I'm really glad for that. Like, that's what the community is about. You have to support each other when they're going through hard times. And that's just me. I'm a very loving person, very honest person, or at least I try to be. Yeah, that's just the way it is.
Very cool of you. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. I wanted to say hello to some people that came in. Mrs. Cronall, of course, the dog show. Gotta love that. Danny McKay is also here. Nancy T came in, and Khaleesi Clues. If you're not watching her videos, definitely check that out. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, she's got some interesting theories, and the way she presents it is really a lot of fun. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for coming by here. I really appreciate it.
So you were saying about comparing my work to the classics, right? So I didn't know this, but fun fact, I know John St. Baptiste is putting my books up next to Dante and someone else, like really important writers. I'm like, it's insane to me that fair enough if you've got alphabetical order in your library, that's cool. But the fact that you've consciously went and put me up next to Dante, that's some big boots to fill right there.
No kidding. Yeah, John is definitely liking the classics, so I could see why Dante would be a choice of his. Yeah, shout out to Johnny Be Crazy. Mackenzie just put in the chat. I don't know if you heard, but there's a tornado coming his way. So best wishes to Johnny. We're going to put the force out there. Use the force.
He's already battered from physiotherapy as it is. Last thing he needs is a tornado. Jeez. Right, everyone pray for Johnny. # pray for Johnny. # survive the tornado. Like, I hope he gets to watch this back. Like, he's like, I hope he's got a shelter or a bunker or something. I don't know how tornadoes work. We don't get them in Scotland.
That's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Because you have haggis, so you don't need him.
No, and haggis is tasty. Haggis is actually good for you as well. So, the fluffy haggis, isn't it? So,
don't want to change the subject, but I do want to get back to Game of Thrones, because we have season 8 of Game of Thrones, which is the last season for this show as we know it. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I have a lot of anxiety about how they're going to close this off. Have you experienced that with the being Game of Thrones season 8?
What did you say? About being the final season?
Yes, this is the end. This is the end of this show.
I'm more concerned for the channels that are so focused on Game of Thrones. Like, where do you go from there? Fair enough, you've got all the offshoots coming, right? For me, I think I'm okay with it ending. I'm okay with it. My only thing is that I hope that they do it justice. And I'm quite happy that they're doing it like feature film kind of length, TV movie film length. So it's about an hour or so long. each episode. I just wish there was more episodes. Maybe if they stretched it to like 7 or even 8 episodes to finish the final 8th season. If they kept it like that, then cool. But they're condensing it down to 6 episodes. But we're going to get a lot more battles. We're going to get a lot more the magical side of things, and more mythology and history are going to come into there, which I've been picking apart recently. What the end game might be or turn out to be. But I'm happy and ready to let it go. I mean, we've still got the books to come out, providing George doesn't cack it beforehand. You know, one foot.
What's that word?
They've
Cack it?
Disney cack it first. that's another Scottish lingo for die. Or
Okay.
Disney D, or kick the bucket might be a better one, might be a bit more translatable. But you know, I'm sure he's still got a good couple of decades left. We'll get maybe Winds of Winter. I don't know about Dream of Spring. I'm still holding out hope for a double release of these books. Right, I think he's sitting on Winds of Winter. He's just playing with us, right? Because he is the puppet master at this point. He's got all his little strings, like trying to figure out what's going on. He is the perfect and most ultimate teacher, lecturer, professor, doctorate, everything in one. Like with this book, so much. There's Gemma. She's like, have no fears, Lauren. I have plenty of plans for my channel beyond Game of Thrones. That's my lassie. That's my girl right there, Gemma. She knows what she's doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any fears of the Game of Thrones content creators, because I think they're mostly so creative that they'll be able to jump into the books, the prequels, and then other shows or whatever it is that they decide to do. Everybody that we follow, I think, is super creative. So
yeah.
I'm glad that we were able to use Game of Thrones to be introduced to them. People like yourself are incredibly creative. So I'm excited about that part. But I am a little anxious about the end, because we have so much at stake, I guess, as fans for this show. It's kind of like, well, I won't use that example. Sorry. I almost went Star Wars on us. But so we've got the ending with the show. Do you have a specific ending in mind that you'd like to see?
I want a really satisfying, big ending that that is absolutely, truly bittersweet. I would actually like to see, like, I can't give a specific ending for everybody, but I would like to see some of my historic theories come true, and you'll see me release a couple of those pretty soon. That includes my Sansa. My Sansa theory is Mary, Queen of Scots. I think Sansa is going to die a martyr. She's going to get her head chopped off. They're just going to leave a son that will unify the kingdoms and the crowns as well. Because technically we've got 2 crowns in play right now. Disregarding the Night King, because I haven't factored him in yet. But we have the Southern Crown, which is Cersei's got, which is Iron Throne, and the Crown of the North. And Mary, Queen of Scots' only son, James, who she had with Lord Darnley, who also had his own claim to the throne of England. His name was James V. He was named after her bastard brother, who was named James, who we've got a representation of that of John, and so on and so forth. Sansa looks like Mary, Queen of Scots. She's got she's very tall. She grew up in a different court, in the French court, and many people align Cersei with being Marie Antoinette, but she's also very much like Elizabeth I. So I think she's like a mashup of that. But I think Cersei might come to actually like Sansa, protect her for a certain while. It'll be her counselors, or the prophecy, which I've also said is a kind of voice of the wills of men, because George is very certain that the wills of women aren't actually the heart of the problem. It's the wills of men, essentially, whether that's a generalization on humans or not. Like, there'll be a younger queen that comes down to take all you hold dear and cast you down, etc., blah, 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 blah. And Elizabeth I died barren and marriageless because she was married to her kingdom, essentially. She had no children. and everyone she loved kind of died until she died. And then James, who's essentially Mary's Queen of Scots' son, was her heir, and unified the crowns. So it was a bittersweet ending. Mary died as a martyr. She became a saint, but it was her son that inherited both crowns, because that's what Mary wanted. Mary wanted to be queen of both countries, England and Scotland.
Sure. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Because she had the claim.
Yeah, she totally did. Like she was a Stuart and Elizabeth was a Tudor, but they both come from basically the same kind of bloodline. Whatever way you look at it, they're definitely related. I mean, what do you hope for the end series? Like, what characters are you focusing on? What endings do you want to see for them?
Honestly, my focus has all been from the very beginning about the Starks. I really want to find out, you know, a little bit more detail on what is the Night King really a Stark, the one that we know from the show, and how are they going to be still alive at the end? You know, are we going to have a Targaryen Stark house instead of it being two separate houses? Yeah, I definitely want to see where that goes. Bran obviously is not Bran anymore, and so we have the third-eyed Raven, who is not going to more than likely continue the line. The only exception to that would be is if when the Night King dies, he is able to be released from his unemotional emo kid, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. And then, of course, Arya, I definitely want her to continue with Gendry. I think that's a perfect ending for me. And I know the Ramsay quote, if you think this is going to have a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. But to me, that would be an awesome way to put the sweet in the bittersweet, because we know that there's going to be a ton of deaths in this season. And are the people that we want to die going to be the ones that are dying? More than likely not. I fear that Cersei will live. So we talked about that yesterday with the Cersei lover of the community. So no need to go over that again. But
as I said to him in the chat, like, Cersei's going to die barren and alone. That's her fate. But because that's what she's reaped what she sowed, more or less. And I think Jaime is going to die at the wall, totally nuts, after everything that he's been through and seen. Leading back to the Sansa thing that I was talking about, her protector was Lord Bothwell. Lord Bothwell had promised her mother that he would keep her safe for the rest of her days, that he would bring her back home and make sure she had her claim restored to the throne of Scotland, etc. And that's Jaime through and through. Darnley is probably Tyrion, and Tyrion's on the road to create a situation where he gets blown up or strangled, because that's what happened to Darnley. Darnley was put into a coup and tried to take the throne for himself, because the wills of women must not overshadow the wills of men. And there comes the religion into it and stuff like that as well. But I won't be surprised if Cersei's still on the throne, but she dies, and then one of the Stark children take the throne, and all the houses are joined in one way or another.
Were you surprised that Cersei has lived this long, considering, you know, the travels that she's had to go through and the marriages she's had to endure or be threatened with?
Listen, only the good die young, right? If anything, this story has taught us, only the good die young, and Cersei is far from that.
That's hilarious.
I mean, I said I'm going to do a psychoanalytical view on Cersei and the Lannisters, and how she ended up the way she was, and how they ended up the way she was, how they all ended up in a specific thing in that instance, because, like, her mentality all stems back from losing her mum, and she blames Tyrion from that, but she was already a little cunt. I know I can't really say it, Ellie. I want to say the word, but I can't. Because I'm being polite. Some people, there might be some Canadians in here. They don't like the word C-U-N-T. I know some people find it offensive, but
well, it's only offensive because we don't want to generalize that on women. But yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand what you're saying.
Cersei is that person. Like she's been killing people since she was like tiny. She thinks she's entitled to absolutely everything because her daddy's the big shot who swings his gonads about like he's he's the pride of all the lions and stuff like that, and he runs the country, and like, that's my dad. Mess with me if you think you're hard enough. That type of. But she's not got any cojones herself. I mean, she relies on everyone else to protect her. She wants to be the one with the cojones. She wishes she could switch places with Jaime, right? But she can't. She's stuck in her position, and that position is surveyed by every man that's ever come into her life. And now she's got that power. She's going to do with it what she will, but she's so inexperienced. She is not Tywin. She is not any of these people. She's not a good ruler. She is vain, she's vicious, and she's possessive. And she will not let it go without a fight, but she will die barren and alone, guaranteed.
Since she was, you were talking about Mary, Queen of Scots as Sansa, would you say then, based on your video, that Cersei is more like Elizabeth?
Yep, Cersei is Elizabeth I. She's more Elizabeth I than she is Marie Antoinette. But both Marie Antoinette died during a revolution in France because the French love to have revolutions. It's part of their blood now. And she's more like Elizabeth I, except she doesn't necessarily listen to her counselors all that well. Cersei is more evil. Elizabeth I wasn't necessarily that kind of way. Historically, we don't know exactly how she was. She's depicted as being a bitch, but it depends who's telling the story in history, because history, as George says, is written by the victors. They get to put it in a way that's beneficial to them, and it might not always be accurate. It's probably subjective, their opinion. And people have also been leaving comments on my video, and I'm trying to clarify. I'm not talking about Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary is an older queen. There's two Marys, right? Bloody Mary is the older queen. I'm talking about a Mary, Queen of Scots, that was, I think she was one of the elder heirs to Henry Tudor.
Sure. Yeah, I think we knew that.
Yeah, because he's married to a Stuart. He was married to a lot of women, to be fair, and he caused a lot of uproar because if he wanted to like divorce women left, right, and centre. He wanted to change his religion so it was acceptable to have divorce. And this is where the fight between Protestants and Catholics, or Presbyterians within Scotland, come about. And this is why there was a fight between Elizabeth and Mary, because even though Henry Tudor did have a son, the son died young, and the only heirs that he had left were Elizabeth and Mary. But Elizabeth was a Stuart, and they didn't want a Stuart on the throne. No, Mary was a Stuart, and they didn't want a Stuart on the throne. They wanted a Tudor, wanted to direct Tudor. So that's why Elizabeth got chosen. And Mary was taken away at 4 years old to the French court, because traditionally the French and Scottish have got along because their mutual enemy is England. So, like, you could even apply some of that to Lyanna and Rhaegar, having the baby and ending up in Dorne, where the Tower of Joy is. Dorne could be another stand-in for France in this kind of case. So there's a lot of babies being whisked away and so on and so forth. But I'm not talking about Bloody Mary. That's a whole different kettle of fish right there.
Yeah, we definitely got. I think we had no problem figuring out who you were referring to. But I definitely want to ask you, was there a character that you were pretty much attracted to from the beginning in a way that a character is written, not necessarily like good looking or attracted that way, but because of the way George writes, there's so many really deep characters. Like some people like Nimble Dip Crab, some people like just the most obscure characters. Was there one like that for you?
Yeah, like when I was reading the books, like the first couple of characters that really caught my attention were Cat. So the Cat really caught my attention. It's just weird because you start kind of liking Cat, and then you really get to kind of love her. But after that, like my favorite characters are definitely Davos and Beric Ride the Lightning Lord Dondarrion, because he's never just going to be Beric the Dondarrion to me. It's Ride the Lightning Lord.
Mm-hmm.
You can see I just love Beric. I don't know what it is. He's one of my favorite characters, and I'm so glad they kept him alive so long in the show, especially with the sword. See that, like I keep saying it, but when the minute they did that flame on thing in the trailer, that's me. I lost my nut. I was set, absolutely set. It was so cool.
You like flaming swords, huh?
Yes, I like the. Oh my God, freezing! I was about to lose myself in an innuendo there, but I just passed that over.
One of the things that always fascinated me about Beric is why Ned chose him to lead the Brotherhood. What turned into the Brotherhood. He was from the Stormlands. He wasn't that familiar with him in regards to being in battle with him. Why do you think that happened?
I think Ned knows a legitimate and loyal man. Most of the time, when he's down south in King's Landing, like he knows it's a rat's nest, and he's told it's a rat's nest, but you can't necessarily trust everybody. But I think he gets a sense from Dondarrion that he is a loyal man. He knows right from wrong, and that like Dondarrion comes to him and he's against what's happening in the Stormlands and what's going on with the people. He's like, well, you're in charge of this. Go sort it out. I'm the hand of the king. Blah blah blah. Dondarrion's one of those men that he's a good man, and he dies horribly repeatedly. As I said, the good die young. And Dondarrion was betrothed. I think he was betrothed to a Dane or someone from the Dane house.
Yes.
And he had so much going ahead for him, but there's something that there's something about him, much like Davos. They're unassuming characters. You don't think they're going to see them much, but George did a great way of bringing them in and making them bigger than they actually are. And I think for the properties of having Rolor and having him as an example, perhaps why Rolor would choose certain people on their judgment on who they are as a person and what they do to save others. Because Beric gets hacked to pieces, he gets hung, he gets stabbed, everything.
Exactly.
He loses an eye.
I wanted to say hi to some people that came in a little bit later or pretty recently. Night Strix, thanks for being here. Otilla Angel came in. Thank you. And Tulkas 420. Tulkas is actually a character from the Silmarillion. And as soon as I saw that name, I was like, that is cool. I love that. So thanks for being here. Liz Coppic came in. Heidi from Costume Co., who will be on tomorrow night at 8 Eastern.
I adore Heidi.
She's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to digging into these new posters and seeing if we can dig some details out of the costumes that are in the posters. So that'll be fun. And also Marlene Vlogs, thank you for being here. Bobby Cantilano is here and Mo Castillo is here. So thanks for coming by. I know that everybody that's in the chat is hopefully having a great time. Julianne 089, you're always welcome, and thanks for coming by. So obviously Beric Dondarrion was one of your characters that you really got involved? Was it because of the way that Arya or Jane Poole were talking about him, or was it just the fact that Ned picked him out of the court to head the Brotherhood?
I think you do get some chapters with Dondarrion speaking, or being spoken about by other characters like Thoros of Myr, and he becomes a sort of legend. And I don't know. There's something really binary heroic about him, and you get that. Like George focuses on a lot of grey, but Beric is a very kind of white knight type character, at least from my point of view. I mean, I think there is some dodgy stuff that he does do, along with Thoros of Myr, but that was within the society that they're in. But again, that's no excuse. Yes, I think some of the Arya chapters really help. Arya chapters are some of my favourite ones. There's a lot of times when I've been reading the books that I've got to a boring chapter and I'm like, oh, come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Please, like, you'll skip and just to see who's next in the chapter lineup, because that's what I do. I'm like, oh yes, another Arya chapter, I get to see where this goes. And I think that's what makes it exciting as well. The chapters are not numbered, they're named.
Yeah, his character was actually replaced. The actor that originally was Beric was replaced, and the voice of the new actor, and I forgot his name, but he is so unbelievable as far as his voice
I love
goes.
him. I'm glad they replaced him. Absolutely, I don't even remember that there was I do remember that it was another actor, but he's now completely out of my brain. Like, I love the new Beric, legend.
The original one looked like the king from the Bud Light commercials. That's how different.
Puny and non-threatening at the same, where Beric has got this very loyal kind of look to him. He looks menacing at the same time, and yes, I love Beric. I kind of hope that Beric gets to live in some backhanded way, somehow, maybe at the Wall. That'd be cool. Just saying.
Yeah, that would be cool, but I don't think that he's going to live. I mean, he's already died so many times that he's not himself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there is that. I'm also kind of hoping that the writers, even though I'm probably pushing for a lot, the writers have kept him alive, right? Because they need him, but they'll also sneak in Stoneheart somehow, and they won't necessarily explain it. Like, you have to give a life for a life, but maybe there's been like a three-way thing going on where he has gave his life and somebody else has gave their life to give him back. I know I'm clutching at straws here. I still want to see a Stoneheart cameo. I just want to see Catelyn Stark come out of nowhere and scare the absolute bejeebus out of everybody. Like, if we can get Catelyn Stark or Nymeria just out of nowhere, and everyone's like they're screaming at the White Walkers and everything, and they turn around and they see Catelyn Stark, Lady Stoneheart on Nymeria with a big super pack. What?
Yeah, I think you definitely have been hitting the 420 a little bit too much there.
I've recently. I have had no 420. I've been sniffing some tinfoil,
Yeah, definitely.
I blame Gemma. It's Gemma's fault.
Riding Nymeria is Lady Stoneheart to save Beric Dondarrion so they could live forever at the Wall. That's the tinfoil armor, full suit, baby. No crown there.
That would make me happy. And at least if she dies, she just joins for the battle, and everyone's like loses her crap, and then they're like, cool, fine, let's do this. We need all the help we can get.
Yeah. So of the show, do you like the actual writing of the characters, or do you like the props, with all of the castles and dragons? Because I know a lot of them are used from the UK. So or do you like just the fact that this is a great story and you could care less about the dragons or the dire wolves or the other stuff.
I like all of it. I love the intro. I think that's one of the things that first grabbed me is how they did the intro. The intro scene with like as a kind of pop up castles
Astrolab and all that.
Yeah, and floating across all the different bits and then evolving that as the seasons go on. Like everybody waits, like we're all waiting for the episodes, but we want to see the intro so that we can all sit in our rooms with the door shut or beside our friends and family who do accept that we watch Game of Thrones and hum along or to the theme tune and whatnot. That in itself is as an epic event to experience. But for me personally, seeing all the castles, and I've said this repeatedly, I've snuck into a lot of castles when I was younger, especially when you meant to pay for them. But I was young and I looked like I was sneaking in with family who had already paid. So, it's you want to explore things, you have to. It's just a child's imagination. But I love the castles. I love trying to figure out which castle is which represented within Westeros. The level of aesthetics and the amount of work that goes into creating the armor, to creating clothes, right down to the final stitch, to banners, to
jewelry.
like just jewelry, everything, it works together. The amount of work and synergy that has to go into making this show is beyond it's unbelievable. It's a standard setting show. Because every show after it is now going to have those standards, especially on HBO. Because if you look at like Westworld, I don't think if we didn't have Game of Thrones, we wouldn't have the standard of show that we see from Westworld. And I know a lot of people are like kind of confused with the storyline and that from that, but that's meant to be confusing. But even then, the aesthetics, the effects, everything's really on point. Now, the storylines for Game of Thrones, as I said, some of them aren't that great. We all can hate Dorne. I hate Dorne. I hate it.
You hate what they've done to it, not what's in the story.
Like the oh my god, the Duran's bodyguard. Oh, I can't remember his name again. The big dude with the axe.
Arya Hotar,
right. Yeah. See, when that happened, I was peeved. Fair enough, stabbing Dan, but no, you cannot do that. You cannot stab Arya Hotar like that, right? Just have him killed and then like do the Arya scene where she's fighting the waif, gets stabbed and then running through the streets. And what even is that? How can this big guy and then this wee girl not? What is that? Like, I know you wanted to get rid of the storyline to cut it down because D&D were absolutely sick of the show at this point. And George R. R. Martin was like, bitch, I gotta go because you're not listening to me. And I got to work on. People are getting up my asshole and I've hit a roadblock and whatnot, So, like, it's really, really, it's just lost it. I'm so honest. I can't help it.
I know. I love it.
But,
I pushed the button.
It's just the Dorne. I'm so disappointed with that. They were doing so well with Oberyn and things like that, and then absolutely dropped the ball. And again, Stoneheart. I mean, I absolutely understand why they didn't and bring her in. I want to see Stoneheart. I want to see that element. That was another element of the undead, the magical and stuff. But I recognize that TV shows have to condense it down because they wanted Jon to have the more impact when he got killed, and then brought back and create this mystery and hype and stuff like that. So I understand how TV works. It's not like I'm oblivious to that. But one does have some certain wants. And hopes and aspirations. I wasn't keen on the Jaime raping Cersei next to Joffrey's body thing. That was weird. That was kind of not needed. We already know that they're incestuous and all that stuff, and they're desperate for each other and they're codependent. More Cersei than Jaime. Just Jaime needs to break free of that issue.
I was going to say it's more Jaime than Cersei, right? He is like the epitome of codependent.
Nah. I think there's always an instigator in it, and she's the instigator. He is her twin. They're bonded like that, and she's always kept him. She's also always held him by his cojones, right? She's always wanted Jamie. She does it to rebel against her father.
There's nothing better than a Scottish woman trying to have a Spanish accent.
I know, cojones. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? Encantada. I thought it was about as much Spanish as I know. Anyway,
perfect.
Right. So
back to Jamie.
She's had him by the cojones all this time. He's held on to her. She does this to rebel against her father because she wants to be queen. She was wanting to marry Rhaegar and be queen, and she uses the incestuous line of the Targaryens for them to be like, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, right? But she does it to piss off her father. She does it to do, it's just a rebellious streak. It's like, I don't get what I want. I don't get to do this and blah, 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 blah. So she's using Jamie, and that's why they get separated. You know that? Like, and when they're brought back together, it's this fever, and so you can't always blame Jamie. I mean, he's not innocent. He's very aware of what's going on, but he isn't aware of how Cersei is and who she is, his personality, and how bad it's got for her. So there's that. I mean, they could have dealt with that a bit better. Things they did right. The Ned absolutely, totally killed us at the end of season 1. We were all just poorless. But Sean Beam at this point is a walking spoiler, you know?
You know he's going to die, right?
I saw that he's in Medici, right? The new Medici show, which I haven't watched. I was like, I'm not watching that. He's just going to die. And then the actor who played Rob's in it is like, they're going to die. All of them are going to die. I'm not bothering. It's basically Game of Thrones 2.0. I'm set in Italy or something like that. I'm not watching that. Why bother?
The Italian wedding. That's what it's going to be called.
What else? What else did they? I want to see Howland Reed. I want them to do it better. And see if they don't.
That being said, why do you think they eliminated him so far?
Well, because we've not really seen him in the books, right?
Right.
I was actually surprised that they showed the tower. They showed him at the Tower of Joy thing flashback. But as I was about to say, like, I would be really, really, really disappointed in the writers if they don't bring that full circle, because you're breaking the rule of what A Song of Ice and Fire is. A Song of Ice and Fire is poetry. It's rhymes. It has stanzas. It has couplets. It comes back around and around and around. So if you don't come back around to Howland Reed after you've been pumping him up, introducing his children, killing his children off, and letting Mira Reed go back down to her father, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you even bothering? Right? He's a key part of the story. We have not had anything from him, much like we don't really know Davos's true origins. And I've got another rant about this as well. Davos is a Baratheon. I'm dead set on this, right? Davos is a Baratheon. Watch this space, right? Just watch
I think he's a dragon seed.
Well, Baratheon, Targaryen, dragon seed, the same kind of bloodline anyway, so.
But
yeah.
Why do you think he's a Baratheon?
Because Davos's name isn't really mentioned much for any other characters in the main books. It's only mentioned a few times in Fire and Blood. And the only other Davos in Fire and Blood was a hand to a king, right? And he was a Baratheon bastard, right? And we've got that with Davos. There's no other Davoses that we come across, right? And he ends up being hand to the king to Stannis. Looks like Stannis. He also saves Gendry, who's meant to be he's a dual character between what's the two boys' names?
For who?
The Gendry, he's meant to be an amalgamation of the two.
Oh, Nedrick Storm.
Yes. I think they're all related. We'll find out. And now he's with Jon. We will find out that Davos is related to all of them, and that's why he's so important. Melisandre did want to kill Davos in some way, but she didn't. He's important to the story. He has King's blood. Probably not as much as Gendry or any other ones, but he has it. It's there. And he's the oldest living character to this date so far. You know, there's an important part to that. He's a smuggler. His sigil is an onion. It's practical. It's unassuming, but it also has many layers, and many layers that we do not know about Davos. We have not seen yet. We don't know about necessarily his family. Basically all his sons are dead. I'm wondering about his wife. Like, is she wondering where the hell he is? Like, has she just moved on?
Well, I think that's pretty common for being in the service of a lord. You know, when you're with the Lord all the time, and you know that Lord is engaging in other combat, you may never see him. Keevan Lannister is another perfect example. He hadn't seen his wife in 4 years, so he wanted to go back to his home.
I actually kind of like Kevan Lannister. In the books and in the show. Like, that man didn't get enough props. He didn't get enough screen time. I mean, I wish Cersei hadn't killed him off so quickly, because I wanted to see more of him. Like, as much as Tywin is a sneaky genius, much like Littlefinger, you have to give Kevin his props. Like, I wanted to see more of Kevin, but you know, he did like everyone else, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll see more of these people. I think it'll come back around. But if they don't follow through with them, I don't know what they're playing at. We need to see Howland Reed. We all want to see Howland Reed, and it's not just me. If they don't bring him back round, I think actually if they hold him off, they'll probably hold him off to the last minute, because apparently I think Howland Reed knows everything, absolutely everything.
Because of his connection with the God's Eye, or because of... Tell me why you think that.
Probably with his connection to the God's Eye, with the children of the forest, with any information that he's sought out. If his children are like, if his children have connections or have powers or things like that, like Bran does, then who's to say Howland doesn't have those sorts of abilities either? Who else is sending dreams out apart from Bloodraven, you know,
right,
or Melisandre, or the Roller, or Marwyn the Mage, and things like that? Who else is sending these? Who else is helping enact these things? You know, we've all got our tinfoil, but you know, the biggest tinfoil out there is the holder of all the tinfoil is Howland Reed. We don't know anything about him. He's one of those characters that doesn't really speak, much like the Night King. And I'm sure there's going to find a connection there as well. You just wait.
No. The connection is Howland Reed is the Night's King?
Doubt it. Doubt it. I'm just like, nah, man. Enough of that. That's too much tinfoil. That's the tinfoil boat right there. It would be really cool, though, if it was. We were like, what?
Well, I never could figure out, honestly, why Bran had to go north of the wall except to escape what happened. But I think, you know, based on what we've seen, they could have gone to a lot of other places in the north and been safe. The Gods would, you know, tons of. I mean, the Wolves would, some of the other castles, etc.
Bloodraven needed a physical transfer. He couldn't transfer over distance, right? He needed that physical transfer for him to be there. Right? Because
that's an interesting thought. I've not heard that before.
He says, now it's time for you to become me, right? And they look very similar. So the timey-wimey shit, like theory might be in there. If you look at the noses, they're very similar. They're very much the same. So there might be body hopping. And we've seen that with Varamir Sixskins as well. And Bran can body hop. So, or at least control someone for a little while. And Bloodraven has been stuck there. The only way he can change or transfer was to bring him up, was to send visions to Jordan. And there was like a kind of triangle of information. Howland Reed needs to be in there at some point, because he wouldn't have sent his two children, for no reason. Why didn't he come up to himself? Why is he staying away? There's a reason why he's staying away, and we just haven't figured it out yet. I mean, I'm like, there's people that think that Ned knew what was going to happen to him when he got his head chopped off, and he's whispering something. Now, the actor Sean Bean says it's just a prayer that he's whispering, but there's a missing part of information, because if you look back at the first couple of the first season, there's a lot of signifiers there, or signs that will show you where it's going. Characters know more than they're saying, and that is a natural way of how humans talk. We don't just automatically say. We're not always honest like me, and even I don't fully tell everybody all the information that they need.
Thank God.
I know, right? George is very good at writing dialogue. He's very on point about it. He only gives you just a bit and leaves you wondering. And that's what he's doing with Howland Reed. He's the ultimate. Oh, he's like the ultimate, like, kind of linchpin that drives you insane. You're like, what is this dude? Where is he? Is he the High Sparrow? Is he this guy? Is he, you know? What if Howland Reed turns out to be dead, or he's hooked up to a tree, and that's why he can't, like, he's in the God's Eye. He's in the main tree on the God's Eye. What happens if it's that? You know?
Well, we know that's not the case, because Mira says that he sent them to Winterfell when he found out about
Ned.
Well, he found out through Ned through one of the dreams, but yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't deny that he is able-bodied and moving around. You can still send somebody if you're stuck into a tree, because, you know, that like, listen, like, Bloodraven managed to get
that's true.
Bran up, and you know, that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So he must be stuck in a tree if that's possibility. And
I've never thought about that. Everyone idea. That's interesting.
Connected. He must have some ability to connect with the weirwoods. If he is indeed has a lineage of the Children of the Forest and has the ability to connect with them. I mean, like, when the Children of the Forest went underground, most of them consigned themselves to being part of the trees anyway, and just kind of dying a slow death physically. What if Howland's like that? He's been watching everything all this time, and that's why we haven't seen Howland, because he can't move anywhere, much like Bloodraven can't move anywhere. You know, and he's connected to all these dreams. Everyone's connected through dreams. We've seen Jamie have dreams. We've seen Brienne have dreams, and they all come true. There's a certain amount of physical manifestation and prophecy about them. It's like tarot card readings and stuff like that. They're not set in stone, but you should pay attention to the things that they have to tell you. So if anyone's curious about whether he might be stuck in a tree, get on it. Look into it. I don't have the patience to look for that, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, that is a pretty interesting concept. I've literally never heard that, and I spend way too much time chasing down theories from Game of Thrones, especially for season 8, because I know that there's a lot of predictions. How do you fall on the fence as far as whether you watch things that are spoilery or not?
I love spoilers.
Okay.
I'm not a hater on spoilers. I love spoilers, right? I actually love watching Talking Thrones' rundowns of, like, people who have posted, like, scripts for season 8 and stuff like that. I like to see their imaginations go wild. There's been one or two that he's posted that even at the end of his own videos, like, what the fuck was that? That's the best thing. It's so good. I love those different possibilities, and it really helps. It really does formulate. You take everyone's ideas, right? That's how books and that are made. You're taking different ideas or things that you like, and you put them together, and you formulate your own versions of those ideas. So I just came up with the idea that Howland Reed is stuck in a tree. Nobody's heard that before. And that's my idea. And maybe someone else will take that idea and investigate it and make a video out of it. And feel free to do that if you have the tenacity and the inclination to do so. Go and do that, because we need more fresh content like that. I think the spoiler are completely valuable. If you don't like them, fair enough. That's up to you. If you want to be totally surprised, but for me, it sparks the imagination. It makes things wilder. The possibilities are endless at this point. You know, we've already ran through most of the hardcore theories and the underlying theories, and then the really, really tinfoily ones. I mean, there's only so much you can do. This is the reason why I love Order of the Green Hand, because they do something very different to the mainstay theories in that we've already got. Not to say that those theories and that content isn't great. It is. It's really watchable. But to have this alternative content is very valuable because it challenges the norm. It's very scientific in that way, where it tries to be objective and find a different way forward. Fake Ari is like, I'm on it, laugh out loud. Yeah, you get on it, girl. You get on it. But yeah, it's one of those things. We need that to keep it fresh, to stop it from being stale.
So everybody in the chat wants you to say "Unite the Clans."
Why?
Because your Scottish accent is amazing when you say it that way. I don't know.
What is this reference to?
I have no idea. I'm just reading what I read.
I'm sensing it's a game of some sort. You know, if someone could tell me what's a reference to, right, then I might do it. I'm not really at liberty to do parroting. It really bugs me. Sorry, Dog Show. I'm not saying that either. I don't like Braveheart. We all know this. I do love the new Mary Queen of Scots film and Outlaw King, which is really spot on, brilliant.
There's actually a new Netflix show coming out on Mary Queen of Scots, isn't there?
I don't think so. I think it's there's the new movie Mary Queen of Scots that was just out. It's got Sverris Ronan.
Yeah, it hasn't been published yet because I tried to watch it and it wasn't released. It was just showing the trailer.
It's probably. Anyways. I'll find out. I'll have a look, because if it is, then I'll put it on my Netflix picks for the next Gen News. So
when is that going to be?
Next Geek News is
for all of you geeks out there.
Every Sunday with me and my sexy face co-host JR, who is Geek Chat One in the chat right now. If you aren't subscribed to him, go subscribe. You can see him and my sexy face as well, and my lovely accent and me swearing about different topics. But there's no politics generally. We try to keep it positive and happy. There's also the Facebook group. We'll join that. We're nearly at 1,000 members. Very peaceful, very loving, lots of memes, lots of awesome ideas are being shared, and so on and so forth. And still, I'm not saying it because JR's like, it's from Braveheart, so that's a no.
Okay. See, we don't want to do that.
So I'll say that, right? If it isn't Scottish, it's fucking crap. How about that? That's better for you.
That'll work. Wow, we've really gone a full circle on that one. I have to take a deep breath just listening to all that content. That's great. So in this season, obviously the spoilers don't bother you, but as far as one particular spoiler that's totally ridiculous, which one would you say is the worst?
Spoilers? Just ridiculous spoilers?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I really don't care.
Well, let's take a step back. Let's talk about theories. Let's talk about the you've heard every theory. You've been around longer, as long as I have, watching Game of Thrones content. So why don't we talk about like Mira and Jon being twins? Are you thinking that that's ridiculous just because they have curly brown hair, or do you like theories like that where people look at their ages and actually try to come up with a way to connect those?
Right, I don't hate it. Right, I'm just saying that straight up front. I don't hate it at all. Right, and I looked up in history if there was any royal twins from the north in Scotland, and there was one set of royal twins. Right, but the problem with it was the twins. One died very young, and the other one lived to become a king. So the whole twin theory about Mira and Jon could be very plausible in this case, but I don't think so, because there's a lot of imagery of black and white, good and bad, a binary. I would say that maybe Dany has a twin somewhere. We've been introduced to them, but we don't know. And I think Ned does have a bastard child somewhere, and it's not Jon.
Wow.
Right? So I subscribed to that theory. There is a bastard child of Ned. He was unfaithful, and Ned is very good at keeping secrets. But I also think Kat is not innocent either, because she projects her anger too much onto Jon. I think at least one or two of the Stark children are not actually Stark children. They're someone else's.
Maybe Maester Luwin?
Yep, and maybe it would explain why most of the children are more Tully than Stark, right? Mm-hmm. And she hates that. She hates it. And I mean, Jon and Rob are pretty much the same age, right? So figure that out, you know. At what point, there has to be a point where she's been unfaithful. You can't say Kat is completely innocent. People seem to hate Kat a lot. But for me, she projects her anger too much onto Jon for no good reason. Right. So when Jon's got that fever and she looks after him, she prays to the gods that she'll look after them and whatnot, makes that totem, and then breaks that completely afterwards, after he recovers. So that there's got to be something there. You do not do that without, like, she's so vicious. You do not do that without getting your own back somehow, right? I firmly believe that. I think Dany has a twin somewhere, and I very much believe that Ned has a bastard child that we do not know about. It's all very possible. Everyone loves their affairs, you know. Nobody is 100% faithful all the time, whether they're sober or drunk or things like that. The twin theory may be accurate to a point. I don't think it's fully accurate. Here's one thing, but Lineage is another. There may have been Mira may actually be Ned's and not Howland's, right? And that's maybe where the Stark look comes from. Jon may be Rhaegar's child, but he doesn't have the hair. The dark genes were predominant over the Targaryen genes in this instance,
right?
Where the dark hairs taken over like all the light aspects. So I mean, if there was twins, I would say there would be one of each. There'd be one that looked like a Targaryen and one that looked like that.
So in other words, Dany and Jon could be twins. Because George had said they're less than a year apart.
Perhaps.
But he hasn't said, anything else.
I actually think Dany is from the Sea Lord houses in Braavos. I think she was part of a pact. She's related to Illyrio Mapatus. And that's how he got the dragon eggs, because the dragon eggs were given to the Sea Lord of Braavos. He bought them, and then Jaehaerys was like, we want them back, and he had to pay for them twice, more or less. And then it must have been the Sea Lord of Braavos wouldn't have gave them up so easily without something in return. And there's a pact there. So I think there's a marriage pact, and Dany, that's where she comes from, the Sea Lord Braavos. Because I twigged to this. I was watching Robert's Indie Geek, one of his theory videos recently, and this is where I get this from, because it's always been a puzzle about the Red Door and the Lemon Tree, and you only really get those in Braavos. So I believe that she's came from there. She is Targaryen, but she's Targaryen through a long lost kind of lineage or line, because there's so many of them that have just been, like Jaehaerys had so many kids that went off to Braavos or to the Citadel and things like that. Who knows who belongs where, but there's going to be twins somewhere down the line, but whether they're both alive, that's I still need to find out in history where that kind of originates from.
Yeah, Dog says Jedi twins, and we're obviously referring to the Star Wars saga with Luke and Leia, but that's Alfie Allen actually said that in an interview, that it's Star Wars. This is like Star Wars, something out of Star Wars, something to that effect, which I thought was pretty much telling that there is going to be some sort of a connection there that George had related to him. So very well could be. Kolnitsky asked about Ned Dane, and they're totally not related as far as Ned's child, because he is actually the son of a different member of House Dane, and he's also very young. He's only like 7 or 8 years old in the books.
He's probably named after Ned because Ned had the cojones, again, here's my Spanish, to bring the sword back to Starfall. That's an honour bestowed upon him, even after the loss of the great Sword of the Mornings or Arthur Dane. You know, that's not many people would bring a sword like that back.
Sorry, Claire Gay.
Somebody asked if I've watched Rain. I think that's what the TV show which you're talking about, AU.
No. Rain is a kids show compared to what I was talking about.
I'll have a look at it. But Rain, I don't like Rain. Rain's really convoluted. I mean, the first number of like episodes, fair enough. But after that, it's a drag, absolute drag. Don't like it. Don't like the actress they've chosen for Mary Queen of Scots. That is not Mary Queen of Scots. She does not look like a Spaniard, right? I don't like the black hair. I don't like any of that. She's meant to be ginger. She's a redhead. That's the family genes. That's what the family genes are. Only Bloody Mary has dark hair. So either they've got their Marys fucking confused, you know, and that shit pisses me off. So no, I don't like Rain, and I won't be watching the rest of it.
Claire Gray is here. Thank you for being here, Claire. The Oracle, if you don't know the Oracle, she is always spot on with her stuff. I just love it. She says, I think there was a 70s style swinging party where all the lords and ladies threw their castle keys into a fruit bowl. 9 months later, pops a bunch of babies. So there you go.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm going to float that idea at con. If I manage to get to the con, I'm just going to be like, I'll just be like, right, we're playing a game. Let's take it back to high school years. We're doing 7 minutes of heaven in the closet. Put your lanyards or whatever belongs to you in this bowl, or we'll pass it around and see what happens. Cheers.
You better let me know what building that party's in, because I am not going to be there.
Wow.
Nobody would call it 7 minutes of heaven if I was there. So, anyways, back to the twin theory and theories like that. I really like the idea that John and Dany could be twins, just because they have such opposite looks, you know, and with Lyanna dying during childbirth, obviously twins would be really hard. So I just like that thought process. Plus the whole A Song of Ice and Fire story, the compilation, the naming of the story, Ice and Fire, Dany and John, etc. I just thought it would be great, a great storytelling.
See, I don't think they're twins, because John is already the Song of Ice and Fire, right? One parent's fire, the other parent's ice, right? It would not make sense for them to be two of them, right? For twins, right? What would be the purpose of that? I think most people are right. Dany is kind of like a distraction to bring dragons in, and also to talk about like basically bring women's point of view to the forefront as a ruler, and their struggles and so on and so forth, and bring our characters to connect the South and so on and bring them up. I don't know. There seems something really fishy with that with me. I would not settle on the idea that there were twins. I don't believe that. I think them being aunt and nephew is enough. Plus the cutscene that we see on Game of Thrones is just Jon, and it translates to the baby to Jon himself. There's no other view of Dany or that woven in. If that was the case, they would have shown that. imagery, that thing in the flashbacks, because it's an important part of the story. Plus, the Targaryens have a lot of linkage to Dorne, and so does Starks. Like, they're really down there, but it's still a thing. I don't think they're twins. I think Dany is from the Sea Lord of Braavos' house. There was a marriage pact between Jaehaerys at some point and the Sea Lord of Braavos, and there's a whole connection of that there somewhere to do with those dragon eggs, because Illyrio Mopatis would have paid a whole lot of money unless he had a connection to the Sea Lord of Braavos, and he basically just gave them to Dany. Why would he do that? Why would a man of such wealth and such stature, all those connections, simply give 3 dragon eggs away to this lassie who's marrying this Cal? Fair enough, it's part of his plan, but he has no guarantee that the eggs will hatch unless there's been a certain prophecy or connection or another magical shit going on.
Well, you got to remember, in Fire and Blood, the dragon eggs are described as rocks.
Yes.
Not as dragon eggs, because the king of Westeros went over there to get them. No, it was the hand of the king that went over there to get them. I think it was one of the maesters. Oh gosh, I forget the guy's name, but starts with a B. I'll think of it in a second, or somebody will put it in the chat.
Are you talking about Septon Barth or Mason Barth?
Yes, Septon Barth. Exactly.
He's becoming one of my favourite people, because I actually think he's named after an academic, literary critic, philosopher, semiotic specialist, everything. I think he's up there with some of George's favourite academics, because there's a guy called Roland Barth who's known for all. He did everything. Sorry, I'm distracting you. Continue.
No, it was just a continuing of your story in regards to the dragon eggs, and that's how they negotiated a lot of gold for just leaving the eggs alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do anything about it. So I think they cut the King's Landing debt or the Crown's debt in half, is what was the way it was described. So quite a bit of gold.
Yeah, but they would have to know that they would hatch at some point, because the dragons were all kind of dying out anyway.
Yeah, they were gone by then.
Yeah, they were dying out anyway. Like, so magic is basically gone, and Dany helps rebirth them. The Illyrio Mopatis and that had no guarantee. They were a gift. Why would they give such a gift to such a random Targaryen, right? That they probably had no real hope of securing the throne with, etc. Did Illyrio expect her to hatch them? Was there something about her and her bloodline that he knows and the spider knows that we don't, right? He would not simply give those up. They're expensive, even if they are just rocks to everybody else. They're dragon eggs to Targaryen. And he knows how Targaryens used to hatch them. You know, he told her the story. She kept them beside her. She kept them warm. They felt warm to her. She was instantly connected to them. There's got to be something there in that. You cannot dismiss it. And especially with Fire and Blood now, we have that evidence.
Yep.
I also want to see what happened to the cannibal, the dragon, the cannibal. Like that. I wonder if that dragon actually made it back to Valyria or something like that. And I want to know what took a chunk out of Balerion.
Valyrian, yeah, that's a pretty good story in and of itself, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with the House of the Worm story. Like, there's a small novella that George has made called The House of the Worm. And I think I've mentioned this to you about when you were doing your theory, and I recorded that narration for you to look into. It's marked on the map, the House of the Worm. It's marked on the Westeros map, right in the top somewhere. It's on the Essos side. And I think it's connected to Valyria, because you've got these big giant worms, and the House of the Worm is people are worshipping these worm gods and transforming themselves into it. Now, this links back to Dune, because what I've learned from Quinn is they had like big worm animals, and people the echelon would try and transform form themselves into these and make a symbiotic relationship, etc. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's lots of them in Valyria, and they're there, and they thrive in the heat and the desert and the volcanic ashes and stuff. And if they've managed to survive off eating each other, then who's to say there's not a big, humongous one that can't take a chunk out of Drogon? And I mean, it would explain how Aurelia has all these worms in her. They're feeding off her. They're becoming symbiotic. They're dehydrating her. They're taking all her fluids and whatnot. She's left on a string of animation, just slight animation. It's almost like a zombify before she's gone. It's to the point where all the maesters in all their lives, I've never seen such a thing, and they're horrified by it. It won't let the parents in to see her, etc. Like I think there's something hardcore in there, and I believe you and Tony were talking about how the dragon riding came about, and I'm with him. I only caught a part of it, but there's got to be some science and stuff going on here. They either made a chimera, or there's been some test tube baby dragon stuff going on, or they've used
maybe not a test tube. Maybe it's just real.
Or they've somehow, and I've said this before, they've collected sperm or an egg or something from a dragon and done test subjects. They've used slaves and put them into the humans, and then once they've had successful chimerations made that ties the bloodlines with the dragons, then there's got to be something there. And how they became dragon riders, how they tamed them. There might be a combination of blood magic, of their science, because of Valyria, like the Targaryens were right down on the eating pile here when we're talking Valyrians.
Sure.
So who's to say that they weren't further advanced in science or magic, or their version of science, which we would know as magic, or they're one and the same thing. So like, who's to say they weren't experimenting like that? I mean, the slaves of Valyria, where the Faceless men came from, they hated the lords for specific reasons, not just for making them slaves and mining. What were they mining for? What was the intention? Like they caused the doom of Valyria somehow, or someone did, and it would be like setting off many volcanoes. How do you set off a volcano? You cause a chemical chain reaction. Like when you're doing a volcano experiment in school and you're putting like baking soda and vinegar together, like what did they use to create that, to destroy Valyria? What was so bad that they were doing that they had to do this? I mean, some Valyrians got out before that happened. The Targaryens, House Valyrian are kind of from that area, and the Danes as well. Like they all come from that kind of area. They got out before anything really messed up could happen. We need to know a bit more about Valyria, but I think there's some really shady shit that went down there, and someone on purpose destroyed all of Valyria. I mean, it could have been the Targaryens themselves. Maybe Daenerys, Daenerys the Dreamer, wasn't actually dreaming. She was part of the plan. And this is a tale that was wound to tell people when the Targaryens came over.
I think that's one of the most interesting things about George's writing, especially with this series, is that he tells the story from a point of view, and you have to interpret what is real and what is not real, and what that person's motivations are, much more so than reading any other book. Mm-hmm. Is there a person like Cersei, for example, that you looked at and read their material and go, oh, nothing I can believe from that character is accurate?
You have to take most characters with a pinch of salt. That's what I think. Melisandre, I just there's stuff about Melisandre I don't quite get. I don't understand. It hasn't been fleshed out properly yet, but that's the point of her character. She's meant to be mysterious. We're meant to try and figure that out. Is she a sea star? Is she related to Bloodhaven and the other Targaryens? How old is she actually? You know, there's a lot of characters that come across you don't really know or don't trust. But she's kind of up the top there. I do want to know a bit more about Varys. I would love to see what actually happened to him as a flashback and what the words he heard in the flames were. Because we've seen the Hound being made to face the flames and accept what he's seeing, even though he's scared of fire. And, you know, Varys would be pretty much the same, except it's a different part of his body. It's still scarification. You've been touched by fire, you've been kissed by it, you've been hurt by it, but you've been hurt by it for a reason. You were not meant to have children for a reason. Somebody chose you out of loads of other children that they could have had for a reason. And he doesn't necessarily know that reason at all. At least that's what we think. You know, or maybe, you never know, he could be a mermaid. He could subscribe to that theory.
That's a crazy theory we talked about
I'm still
earlier,
working
right?
on Kraken coming up from the sea. I'm just saying, you know, along with the super pack with Cat on it, I want to see an ice kraken. I've been saying this for years. You know, ice krakens are going to happen. You just watch this space.
What would be the benefit of an ice kraken? I could see an ice dragon because it's so weird, but an ice kraken, he wouldn't be able to swim very much because everything would be frozen around him.
Yeah, but if the Night King can raise the dead and it'll become back as a white, it's technically an ice kraken, isn't it? Because if you want to call Valyrian an ice dragon, right, then you can't really say that, you know, that the kraken isn't an ice kraken. It is an ice kraken. It's a white kraken, just like Viserion's a white dragon. So the water doesn't have to be frozen. It can be very cold. I mean, they're going to have loads of ships, aren't they? And if the Night King makes it all the way down to like the God's Eye and stuff like that, there's going to be boats about. He's going to have to figure a way to take down those boats. And he's only got one dragon, hasn't he? He can't take down everyone's boats, can he? You know, and we've had all these legends about all these big animals and stuff like that. Who's to say there isn't a kraken? I mean, we've got the drowned god and stuff like that. Who is the drowned god? Maybe he's connected to the drowned god. Maybe he knows that there's krakens that he can raise. I mean, he got the white walkers the whites to go down into the ice water and drag Viserion out. He knew he had the chains ready for that. I want to know where the forge was. I want to know where the hell they were carrying those damn things. But they managed to pull him out, and he did that. And you've seen.
Well, we have to assume the Night King was a green seer and able to see the future, right? Where he was able to get the chains from the East Watch, or not East Watch by the Sea, but what was the battle up north? I'm so sorry, totally blanking. Hardhome. Yeah. So got him from the ships out of Hardhome. That's my guess. But one of the fun things I do about season 7 was all of the different marketing ideas I got for merchandise in season 7, and one of them was the Insta chain, where you just add water and it turns into a big giant chain. It starts off really small, so you just put it in your pocket, and then when you need a chain, you just add water, and it just grows up. Totally lol. So I'm sure most of you know that I am a huge Stark fan. I love the Starks from the very beginning. Obviously, with my connection to Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, I just felt like Sean Bean was an instant connection for me. Do you have a connection like that with another house?
I kind of secretly dislike that I look exactly like a Lannister. I do have to say that, right? Because I've got the long blonde hair and I've got the eyes and stuff, the green eyes and whatnot. I don't like that. I love the Starks. The Starks are awesome. I like the Tullys, but it's because I like the Blackfish. The Blackfish is a badass. I don't know who else really. I mean, the Starks, the Baratheons are cool. They've got a decent history. As I said, I want to see more of the Danes. And the Mormonts, I like the Mormonts. The Mormonts are cool. And Bear Island, mostly because I like Jorah. I know that might not be everyone's consensus, but I like Jorah. I feel for Jorah actually. Like we can't.
You like Jorah, TV show Jorah, not book Jorah, right?
Yeah,
or both the same.
Bit of both. Because, like, to be fair, as many people take the piss out of him being in the friend zone, right? We all know we've been there. We've all been there at one time, right? That's why we take the piss so much out of Jorah. We've all been in the friend zone at one point or another, including me. And it's not a nice place to be. But if you can get past that, oh my god, they don't want to be with me, and still love someone like Jorah does, at least within the show. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, he might not know how to ride a dragon, but he knows how to defend his queen. After making mistakes, he's owned up to his mistakes. He knows that. You're a big man if you can say, "Oh, okay, it's my mistake. I did this wrong. Please let me try and make up for that." If you can have the brains enough to admit when you're wrong, that's worthy enough of something, you know. I adore Jorah, and the Little Bear is just cool. But I've heard we're going to hate Little Bear pretty soon when it comes to season 8. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I totally adore her. I think everything about her I've enjoyed. So, Felicia is the only one that I know that hates her. So, yeah, I've never had a problem with Little Mormont. I definitely have not liked Jorah at all, just because of his motivations are just like Jaime. It's it's like, God, that's why they invented other women, so that you don't have to be so enamored. It's just crazy. He just can't get over his obsession, and to the point where he ruins his whole family's history on it.
But some people's problem is other women. Look at fucking King Baratheon,
Robert?
like Robert Baratheon. His problem is other women, but he was obsessed as well with Lyanna, and Lyanna died.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the same thing. It's the Lyanna connection. Jorah's the same way, and so is Jaime. They're all just overwhelmingly obsessed with this particular woman, and they have no thirsty ass Jorah is the only way to describe him. I'm sorry. He's thirsty. He is just way too thirsty. You've been there, I take it.
In the friend zone? Yeah, sadly.
No. I heard you admit the friend zone, but I'm talking about where you just can't get over one particular person.
Yeah, but that in itself is complicated. It's usually I can get over somebody like that. Like if I've had enough of you, you're bounce, get lost.
Yeah.
But I've had.
You told me that last week.
There's one person that I do have, and then it's extremely complicated, and it's mostly why I don't really talk about my relationship status and personal life and whatnot. Apart from a few other people do know about it.
You don't want to talk about your 6 other marriages?
I wish, man.
I'm just kidding.
That would be a hell of a story to write. Imagine how many novels I would have out by now, like just scathing novels about my exes and stuff like that. They're not that exciting, to be fair.
Well, I don't know if everybody in the chat has seen it, but I just put on Facebook that I celebrated my 33rd wedding anniversary, and I'm totally committed to my wife. But if she dissed me or whatever, I'm not saying I'd kick her to the curb. Don't get me wrong, but man, I just have an understanding of that. That's her opinion and that's her life. So I just, it would be too hard for me to not let her live her her life and be happy.
It's a rare thing, though. Like, it's amazing that you've made it this far, because we're in a period of time now where people get divorced after 6 months. They get married too quickly. They don't learn about each other. They don't communicate properly. They don't open up properly. They take the humph, like they spit the dummy out really quickly, and they're like, you know what? Just to be spiteful, I want a divorce, or I want this, and they don't realize the implications of what marriage is. That some people idolize and romanticize the marriage, getting married part, the whole wedding dress and the venue and stuff like that, more than they do the actual marriage, because they've got so romanticized by TV and books and stuff like that that they've clung to, or movies, that is what it is. And they don't realize the full commitment that they're taking on. Like, do you actually want to be with this person for the rest of your life, or do you want to be like a single hoe? You know, it's what do you really want? You know, stop wasting this person's time. If you don't want to be with them, you know, admit to yourself before you get into something that you cannot necessarily easily get out of. Yeah, and stop. Don't waste your money. If you don't want to commit, don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your life. But I commend you for having such a long and lengthy marriage. I can only hope and aspire that someday that I'll have something like that. I wish I could and I did, but I'm not totally hopeful on it.
Well, you can only do what you can do. There's no, just because 33 years doesn't mean it's the end all be all. That's not that's not an excuse for success. It's just, that's been a huge pleasure. So, yeah, it's just been part of my life, without a doubt. So thank you for everybody for all the kind wishes in the chat. I really appreciate it. It's a constant work. You know what I mean? There is no
you're a team,
but
you're partners. It's a two-way street, right? It's no just you give me everything, I'll take everything. Yeah,
absolutely. There's just no other way to describe it. We work on this all the time, and I think that's one of the things you talked about, is that you can't always tell people what you want because you're afraid of that rejection, or you're afraid that they'll kick you to the curb. And it's just been a real pleasure not to have to worry about that kind of thing. So you'll make it. I know you will.
We'll see.
You're an awesome person, so I have no doubt. Can you tell me, in regards to going back to Jorah, because I just am really surprised that you liked it. What was it, the Ian Glenn? Because I just think that he is the perfect character for that.
As I said, I feel a lot for Jorah. I understand Jorah. When I was reading through the books and watching the TV show at the time, I was going through a lot of stuff that I related to. Jorah's very relatable in some ways, and not a lot of people can admit that. I can admit that. I mean, who hasn't been betrayed, or who hasn't been the betrayer and then regretted it? I mean, Ian Glenn's amazing as Jorah. He had to wear the same outfit for ages, for years. Poor guy. But I personally, I connected a lot with Jorah. And as I said, not a lot of people will admit to that, but I will. I mean, I really felt for him, and I like, you feel angry at him, but you also have to take into the account that he's been through a lot. He was desperately trying to please this woman. He's a pleaser. That's how he is romantically. He doesn't know when to stop. And the woman that he chose was so ridiculously awful. Like, she just took. She wanted the better life. She wanted a sugar daddy. He didn't necessarily want Jorah, and he couldn't give her anything. He destroyed all the family house riches and stuff like that, trying to give her it. He destroyed himself. It's right. Self-destruction. That's what he is. And we've all experienced some sort of self-destruction in our life, be it through our vices, through drugs, through drink, through our lives, how we treat people, how we interact, how we use people. And Jorah is a great example of self-destruction. And we've always been there. Like, I've been there, and like, it's a part of overcoming that and learning to admit to yourself, I did this. It was me. I could have stopped this, and I did it. I pushed too far. I ran out of money, and I decided to get into slaving, and that's a step too far. You know, I've already trashed my house. My wife's left me for some richer guy. you know, it's at what point do you say stop to yourself, you know? And he was exiled. He's desperate to come home. No wonder he decided to try and get the pardon, the royal pardon, and spy on Dany. You know, when you're desperate, when you've lost all hope, you'll clutch at straws and clutch at everything to try and still remain human and feel like you have something. And he had nothing. And we've all been there. I've been there. I've been like, there's times where I've never been able to leave the house, where I've been trying to find a way out of my own darkness. And we all do that. We've all tried to be the pleaser, or we've took advantage of someone who's been the pleaser. You know, we're either Jorah or we're his wife, right? That's the way I see it.
Yeah,
and I don't care
true.
how many people hate Jorah. I adore the shit out of Jorah. Like most of the flawed characters people take the piss out of, like, there's a lot of worth in them. It really is.
It's pretty funny. We talked about Stannis in the beginning of this episode, and Tony would appear, and now we talk about Jorah and T-Baby's here. So I think that's hilarious.
Again, hold on. Stannis.
Oh, nice.
5 minutes.
He's here. He just doesn't want to give you the hope of being. Oh, so you have been on today for about 16 hours. How are you feeling?
Sorry, what was that?
Okay? I just asked, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I actually went, like, I knew that I was going to be on, so I switched out my decaf coffee for actual coffee. I'm also partially ill. Like, I think I have a fever. I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning this morning. Wow. And I managed to go back to sleep for like an hour. And there he is. Twice now. Twice. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Every day now, I'm just going to message him, Stannis, until he agrees to come on asking questions. I'm sorry that people keep bugging you, Tony, right? But people are like, get on asking questions. And I've asked several times, and I want you on. I want your wee cheeky face. I want your wee smile. I want your terrible Scottish impression that I caught the other day there, because that was hilarious. It was more Irish than Scottish. This just may be fair, right?
It's a tough one to come off, so I give him credit for trying.
Yes, very much. Lauren's Corner. Welcome to Lauren's Corner. It's down, Tanny Teflon here in the house. What up, my people? Don, Tony Teflon, Don. Like, how's that for an impression?
Lauren, I don't know what's worse, Tony's impression of you or your impression of him. Oh, that's awesome.
I know he'd be smiling somewhere behind his lurking little camera. He'd be sitting behind the screen just giggling to himself, and be like, I am so offended right now. I can't believe she did that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm going to make you stop because I don't want you to hurt Tony's feelings.
I know. Tony, don't be offended. I really do adore you. You've heard me tell you that I like your cheeky face. Like, I'm looking right at you right now. Can you see my face? It's pretty. You have to come
big eyes. Those big, kind eyes.
Maybe I can do the sexy voice, but invoke Stannis again. Maybe that might work. You're laughing now. Hold on. Let me do it. Stannis. That works.
He's gonna make me send him the link now.
Let me jump on. No, you had your turn.
So you are pretty excited about going to Con of Thrones. I hope that you're able to make it. I think it'll be really interesting being there after the season is over, because we'll all be thinking what's next, right?
Yeah. I really do hope I manage to get there. I mean, it's going to take a lot. I'm hoping that I'll reach 1K pretty soon. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. I've got Patreon, I've got GoFundMe, I've got PayPal. You can donate, everything like that. We're trying to go, but I want to go so I can make it there. So I can meet people. Most importantly, besides the con's like a secondary thing now. The most thing that I want is to meet people that I haven't met before, that I've been in contact with for quite some time or involved with in one way or another. That's most important to me, is that connection.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd love to meet yourself if you're going, but people like Gemma, people like JR, Johnny Be Crazy, because that's my homeboy, that's my homie. I really want to meet him, and I want to just to have some fun and hang out, you know, together, and like be like physically touch people, like, you're real, you're so real, you're here. And like find out what height people actually are. You know, I'm like 5'7", just about 5'7". So
I'm
I'd be
5'6",
interested
so
just to be see if I'm taller than some of the guys, or I don't like who's the towering person and who's the Tyrion, you know, like just I want to know I just those weird things like that. And just to be like walking through the con and have someone shout my name just out of nowhere. They'll hear my voice and be like, "Is that Lawrence Corner?" Yes, it fucking is. And most importantly, I want to be on the UK panel. I want to be on the European panel, because apparently there's going to be a panel with Indie Geek, Secrets of the Citadel, and I think Helena might be on that panel as well. And I would like to, the Scottish part to that.
Ambassador.
Yes, that would be like, it'd be amazing, and mostly because like I would have finished my second year of uni. I've done all my exams, and the con would be my kind of my treat. It'd be my break away for a week, you know.
Dog says, I thought AU is like 6'4". I'm like, no, I'm 5'10". I was just teasing her. I'm not 5'6".
He wanted me to be taller than him. He wants me to be like some like muscular Amazonian Scottish woman with like the kilt that's got like the full wrap round and stuff like that, with the sporran on and doing the Highland claymore.
My wife is like 5 foot, so I could care less what size people are. It doesn't matter. That's cool that's one of your interests, but yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Yeah.
I'm just weird. I just like small details like that. You know, you can get to know somebody over the internet, right? But it's different when you meet them in person, and all the proportions the camera doesn't show you. It's just like, it's like a revelation. Like, I'm going to be staring at so many people if I get there. So if I meet you and I'm staring at you, it's because I'm admiring your beauty. I'm admiring who you are as a complete person for the first time. Okay,
gotcha.
That's just who I am.
So funny. Well, it was great to have you on. Is there anything that you want to plug that's coming up?
Yep, I've got a few videos that I'm working on. I'm doing a stream with Johnny Be Crazy tomorrow on his channel. We're going to finally do the second half of our Night Flyers review for the TV show. So if you haven't seen Night Flyers, it's on Netflix, and I think it's on Hulu and a few other places. I'll be doing Geekend News next week. I'm trying to get on Gemma's channel to help her out with a few things. I'm going to be doing an AQ Extra session with Alicia Kingston, and that's going to be posted, as usual, on my Patreon. For all my little Patreons, and if you haven't got me on Patreon, it's just basically patreon.com/Lauren's Corner. Everything's really affordable. And it means you get something for something. And the exclusive content, AQ Extra, does not go onto my YouTube channel. That's just for my Patreons exclusively. And they're less PG than the ones that I do on my channel. I don't know how they could be evil, like more adult, but you know, we get into some hot tea. Hot tea is served. But yeah, like I'm busy. I'm really busy. It's so much on.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. What have you got planned? Who's up next for your lineup of 30 days?
Oh my gosh, we have Johnny Be Crazy is going to be on Tuesday. Heidi from Costume Co is tomorrow. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but we've got Gemma coming up. We've got Kevin from Bats Production coming up. I'll have Al next Sunday, hopefully. Al, Red Sox fan.
Good times.
Yeah, I honestly have to look at my calendar because otherwise I wouldn't know. But there's
got a full calendar.
We've got pretty much everything lined up except for the last 5, maybe 7 days. There's a couple of spots that are booked for the last week, but yeah, it's going to be epic. I'm only going to have one day of solo, so yeah, that's going to be fun.
I got a question for you. When is this TV video coming out? Because I done this narration for this video about a year or so ago, and I'm still waiting to hear this genius.
I have been working on this for when did you record that for me? Like a year. Claire Gray did hers a year. I talked about this with Tony Teflon. It's just like I don't know what it is. Every single time that I try to move forward with it, I come up with something else that technology blocks me, and I have to, start over again. So there's a reason for it, and I've actually added quite a bit. But yeah, the origins of Winterfell is going to be pretty cool. So
I think my advice would be to do what you can. Release part 1, right? Make it into several parts. Don't make it a whole thing. Make it into parts. Even if you have to make the first part like 5 or so minutes, at least that part's done.
And no, it's like 20 minutes already. So
yeah, but just saying, if it's 20 minutes long and you're getting stuck near the end parts, release like the first 5-10 minutes, and then means it gives you the people something to watch and gets them hyped up, and then you can lead them into the next part once you've figured out how to make that. Because it gives them something. You can't just tease them with it and then leave it for another year. I've been waiting for ages. My narration of this was perfect.
Oh yeah, yours, Claire's, and Kraken's are perfect. Absolutely.
I want to hear Kraken's. That's what I've been waiting for. Never mind mine or Claire's. I know it took Kraken about 20-30 times to get his narration right, if I remember correctly.
If you want to get Kraken's narration, I'm sure he'll give you some narration, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I know he will.
Hashtag eye roll.
Oh, Kraken's oil done. Where's Kraken been? T-Baby, I think he's working. Does he have a job or something now? Because I haven't seen him for ages.
Yeah, he is on his way back. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
Yep.
I look forward to taking the piss out of him again because I'm good at it. He loves it though. He does. He really does. I don't mean it any bad.
No, he asked for it. He asked for it.
Yeah, he does. He so does. Somebody was saying in the chat. Hold on. Where are they? Tulkas 420. You have a new fan of me, Lauren. Well, if you're a new fan, please go subscribe to my channel. If anyone else here that's lurking is not chatting is a new fan of me, go to my channel, Lauren's Corner, hit subscribe and get me up to 400 subs. I'm on the road to 1K. Let's get me to 1K. We can do this.
Yay.
Everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Go subscribe to Lauren's channel for sure. I want to thank you for being on again. This is always fun, and look forward to doing the behind the scenes or season 2 of questions.
Yes.
I'm sure that'll be epic. Thank you for everybody that's in the chat. We have had so many people join us for sure. T-Baby came in, the dog show. Sonny Frank came here all the way from Florida. Fandom D Saint, Linda R, Terry T, Peter Griffin, Photo Peach, the dog show, Mara Jade Starkwalker, excuse me. Messed that up already. Storm Steele is here, and Danny McKay came by. DJ, Peter Griffin, The Imagination Realm, Mo Castillo, Linda R. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great one. Of course, Geek Chat 1. Yeah.
You know, my sexy co-host from Geek Chat 1. If you haven't seen Geek Chat 1 yet, please go do that. I'm just going to keep busting my ass for Geek Chat 1. I love being part of the staff. I say that in quotation, staff, part-time staff. But yeah, it's a wonderful place to be. Go check it out. Imagination Realm, Mo Castillo, Linda R, Tulkas 420, all those good people that are in here. Gemma of the Secrets of Citadel was in here. My Don, Tony Teflon, Stannis, you better say goodbye, man. You better say, I know you're still watching. I know you're still, I see you, boy. I see you. You know I see you, right? My subscribers see you, and they won't leave you alone. But everybody, thank you, AU. It's been ages since I've been on the channel with you. It's been a long time coming. And if you need me back again for any more narrations that you're going to hold off for another year or two, I'll be happy to lend my voice to completely.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you're awesome. Thanks again for being here. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern with Heidi from Costume Co. Take care, everyone.
Boob glasses.